Hi everyone, Helen with you here today from Sunflower Cottage Crochet, and today I'm going to be showing you how to do the crunch stitch, which is this beautifully textured stitch here. As it happens, this project that I'm working on here is going to be a washcloth, so you can see I think that texture there is really appropriate for a washcloth. But also if you would like a different type of pattern, we do have our robin's nesting baskets, which use the crunch stitch but in the round. So I'm going to show you today how to do a basic crunch stitch in rows, going backwards and forwards. If I go out just a little bit, you'll be able to see how that washcloth is looking so far. So you can see it's a really versatile texture. And it's unisex as well, so it would, for instance, make a good men's scarf pattern, that sort of thing. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to do the crunch stitch in rows. Now, to do this, I'm just going to make a sample up to go through with you. So I'm going to chain, you need to chain a multiple of 2 and then add 1 on the end. So I'm going to do 9. 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. As I say, for the washcloth, I used 31. So if you want to make a washcloth, that's a nice size. And then what we need to do is we need to go into the 3rd chain from the hook. So essentially the crunch stitch, your rows will always start with a half double crochet or equivalent, and then a slip stitch, and then you'll alternate each stitch. So it'll be half double crochet, slip stitch, half double crochet, slip stitch, all the way along. So when we go into the 3rd chain from the hook, the 2 that we don't use will count as a half double crochet. So we need to slip stitch into the 3rd chain from the hook. So you can see there, we don't count the one that's on the hook. 1, 2, 3rd chain, insert your hook, pull through, and then pull through for your slip stitch. And then the next stitch we need to half double crochet. So yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over and pull through. So you've got your 3 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through all 3. So there's your half double crochet. So the next stitch is going to be a slip stitch, and the next stitch is going to be our half double crochet. So you would follow that pattern all the way to the end of the row. Now, because we started with a half double crochet, you will always end with a slip stitch. And that's absolutely fine, because every row we will start with the half double crochet and end with a slip stitch. So it's a nice way if you know whether or not your count's right, because if you find you end on a half double crochet, something went a bit squiffy and you might need to go and check your counts. So it's rather a small sample, but you can see I've finished that row. Then when you get to the end, you turn, and you can either chain 2, or do an alternate chain 2. So literally just chain 2, skip that stitch and slip stitch into the next stitch, because your chain 2 counts as a half double crochet, and then you would half double in the next stitch and slip stitch in the next stitch. Half double, you'll be able to tell which stitches are your half doubles from your previous row. You can see, hang on, I'll just finish this row. So I'm up to a half double and a slip stitch, half double and a slip stitch. So that last slip stitch can be a little bit awkward. Right, so when we do the next row, there we go. So you can see which stitches are the half double crochets from the previous row. So we ended with a slip stitch in this end stitch. So effectively what we do is we put a half double crochet into the slip stitch from the previous row, and we put a slip stitch into the half double crochet. Now you can tell which ones are the half double crochets because of this third loop that runs along and gives the texture. Slip stitches don't have that. So where you've got this thread going across the front of the stitch, that is your half double crochet from the previous row. So as I say, chain 2, skip the first stitch because that counts as your half double crochet, and then slip stitch into the next stitch, half double crochet into the next stitch, slip stitch into the next stitch, half double crochet into the next stitch, and slip stitch into the next stitch. Handy hint, try not to let your slip stitches get too tight like I have with this one, otherwise it's a little bit awkward to get your hook into. Half double crochet and then slip stitch into that final stitch. So you can see there the texture's coming on. We'll do another row of that so you'll be able to see how that comes together. So your chain 2 counts as your half double crochet, so we'll miss that stitch and we'll slip stitch into the next stitch, half double crochet into the next stitch, slip stitch into the next, half double crochet into the next stitch, and slip stitch into the next, and you just simply continue that all the way along. As I say, each row will start with a chain 2 which counts as a half double crochet, and it will end with a slip stitch. There we go, and you can see that texture there is starting to come up, and it's two-sided as well. So that's pretty much it for the crunch stitch. As you can see from this washcloth that I've been doing, I'll do a little bit more on here. I don't know whether you can see the stitches slightly better with this yarn, but this stitch here is a slip stitch on the previous row, and this one is my double crochet because it's got the thread going across the front. So I need to half double crochet in the next stitch and slip stitch in the next, half double crochet and then slip stitch in the next, and we do that all the way along. With this particular washcloth, what I have done is use the alternate chain 2. So I'll just very quickly, if you would like to use that, show you how to do it. Hold on, sorry, this slip stitch from my previous row was just a little bit tight for me half double crochet to go into, and then end with a slip stitch. So for the alternate chain 2, turn your work, and in this first stitch, which was the slip stitch from the previous row, we simply do a single crochet and a chain 1, which gives it the height of a half double crochet, but it fills in this bottom bit just a little bit so you don't get the gappy look that you can sometimes get with a chain 2. So the next stitch is our slip stitch, and then half double crochet in the next stitch, slip stitch into that stitch which was the half double crochet from the previous row, because we've got that thread across the front which we don't have on the slip stitch, and then we half double crochet into the next stitch, slip stitch, half double crochet, and it really is that easy, and you can see how effective that texture is. I do hope you've enjoyed this tutorial today. If you would like to subscribe to our YouTube channel, please feel free to do so. If you hit the little bell icon, you will be notified every time we make an upload of a video. We do have a few coming up, so please keep an eye out for that. And hopefully we'll see you soon. Take care. Bye.